There comes a moment in every man's life when he asks, "Why doesn't she look at me the same way anymore?" And if you're brave enough to stop blaming her emotions and start examining your actions, you'll uncover the truth that most men avoid. It's not her attitude that changed, it's her respect that vanished. In this message, I'm going to walk you through the 10 things, yes, 10 behaviors, decisions, and habits that instantly kill a woman's respect for a man. These are not surface-level traits. These are soul-deep patterns that speak volumes, louder than your words ever will. And here's why you must watch this till the very end. Because your future relationships depend on your ability to understand this now. Respect is the foundation of love. Without it, affection fades. Without it, passion dies. Without it, commitment dissolves. If you've ever asked yourself why she pulled away, why her eyes dimmed when she looked at you, or why she stopped fighting, for us, the answers are buried in these 10 truths. This isn't a message to shame you, it's a call to awaken what's noble, courageous, and righteous within you. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you won't just know what kills her respect, you'll understand how to earn it back and keep it for life. Respect is not a prize handed out to every man who shows up. It is not gifted to you simply because you wear the title of boyfriend, husband, or provider. It is something far more sacred, far more costly. A woman may be drawn to your charm, intrigued by your looks, even momentarily impressed by your success, but if your character is weak, all of it collapses like a house built on sand. She may admire you for a moment, but that admiration will evaporate the moment your true nature contradicts the image you projected. You see, character is not about how you act when the spotlight is on. It's about who you are in the quiet hidden moments when no one is watching. It's about how you treat her when there is no reward, how you speak of others when they're not around, how you carry responsibility even when it's heavy. And it's in those small, quiet choices, those uncelebrated decisions, that a woman silently builds or breaks her respect for you. The truth is, women are not fooled by surface-level confidence. They may smile politely, they may even follow your lead for a time, but deep inside they're observing. Observing your reactions when life doesn't go your way. Observing how you treat waiters, your family, your enemies. Observing how you deal with temptation, disappointment, and failure. And in these observations, a question forms in her soul. Can I trust this man with my heart, with my future, with my safety emotionally, spiritually, even physically? If your actions say yes, her respect will grow like a seed planted in rich soil. If your actions say no, if your character falters under pressure, if your words are louder than your integrity, then that seed withers before it ever had a chance to take root. You see, real character does not boast. It doesn't try to impress. It is quiet, consistent, and built over time. A man of character doesn't need to declare his worth, his life declares it for him. And that's the man a woman respects. Not because he's perfect, not because he never stumbles, but because when he does fall, he admits it. He owns it. He changes. He doesn't manipulate her to forgive him. He humbles himself to earn back her trust. That kind of man, a man with self-awareness, humility, and unwavering truth, commands respect without ever needing to demand it. It's not found in muscles or money or words well spoken. It's found in the man who lives with integrity when the world offers him every chance. Not to. A man who fears God more than he fears losing her. A man who is the same in private as he is in public. When she sees that man, her respect doesn't just grow, it anchors her. Because now she knows, deep in her bones, that she's standing beside someone worthy. Someone who doesn't just speak of love, but lives in a way that protects it. Someone whose presence doesn't just charm her, it calms her, secures her, dignifies her. There is something sacred in the steadiness of a man's emotional presence. A woman doesn't need you to be perfect. but she needs to know you are real, authentic in your intentions and consistent in your spirit. When a man is emotionally unpredictable, when he is warm one moment and cold the next, open today and withdrawn tomorrow, he creates a silent storm within her heart. That storm begins to shake the foundation of her trust in him. And where trust wavers, respect cannot breathe. You see, a woman connects through emotion. It's how she reads your heart, how she feels your leadership, how she begins to surrender her own layers. But when your emotions swing without clarity, when your presence is erratic, and when your tone shifts without explanation, she begins to feel like she's building a relationship on quicksand. What may seem like small lapses in consistency to you, avoiding tough conversations, stonewalling in conflict, being overly affectionate one day and detached the next, these are not small to her. They tell her whether or not she is safe with you. Not physically safe only, but emotionally safe. Can she open her heart without fear of being dismissed? Can she bring her concerns without being mocked or shut down? Can she lean on your strength without worrying that it will collapse the moment you're inconvenienced or triggered? If the answer becomes no, even once too often, she starts to quietly detach. Not because she stopped loving you, but because her soul stopped feeling secure around you. A man's emotional inconsistency speaks of internal battles he hasn't faced yet. Maybe it's trauma, maybe pride, maybe ego, or maybe fear, but whatever it is, it bleeds into the way he shows up. And the painful truth is that when a man doesn't rule his inner world, his mood begins to rule everyone around him. A woman may try to endure it for a while. She may rationalize it, justify it, even blame herself for it, but eventually, she'll stop seeing him as someone to follow. Instead, she'll begin to see him as someone she has to protect herself from. That's the day her respect starts to die. Not in a loud argument, not in a dramatic exit, but in the quiet spaces of her soul where admiration once lived. Emotional inconsistency is not just a flaw, it is a signal that maturity has not yet been reached. And a woman's heart instinctively respects a man who is emotionally whole, someone whose reactions don't depend on external chaos. A man who can be the same person when he's applauded and when he's criticized. A man who doesn't emotionally abandon her when he feels overwhelmed. She will overlook a lack of wealth, a lack of charm, even a lack of eloquence, but she cannot overlook a lack of emotional grounding, because without it, she is left to walk on eggshells, constantly trying to guess which version of you she's going to meet. And no woman can truly admire a man she feels she must tiptoe around just to keep the peace in the room. A man is called not just to exist, but to lead. Not with tyranny, not with ego, not with domination, but with conviction, purpose, and quiet strength. A woman doesn't need a dictator. She doesn't need a boy trapped in a man's body making excuses for his immaturity. What she longs for, deep down, is a man who leads not just her, but himself first. A man who wakes up with a vision for his life. A man who knows what he stands for. A man who doesn't wait for motivation to move him, but is grounded in responsibility, whether he feels like it or not. Because the moment you stop leading your own life with clarity and purpose, you begin to fade in her heart. Not because she wants to leave you, but because her soul can't follow someone who's still lost. You may have charm. You may have dreams. But if you lack direction, she will feel it. She will feel it when you can't make decisions. She will feel it when you avoid responsibility. She will feel it when you don't pursue your calling with consistency. And that void, that gap in your leadership, forces her into a place she was never meant to carry alone. She begins to take the lead not because she wants to dominate you, but because she's trying to survive the emotional vacuum your indecision created. And with every step she takes to fill the gaps you left open, her respect for you begins to quietly dissolve. Leadership doesn't mean knowing all the answers. It means having the courage to seek them. It doesn't mean controlling her, it means covering her. Protecting her with your decisions, your consistency, your example. It means walking in a way that she can follow without fear. You can't expect her to believe in you when you haven't yet committed to believing in something greater than your own comfort. Your work ethic matters. Your word matters. Your sense of direction matters. A woman watches how you navigate the storms of life, how you handle setbacks, how you respond when things don't go your way. And if she sees a man who folds under pressure, a man who avoids challenges, a man who would rather be passive than present, she may still love you, but she will stop looking at you as someone she can trust with her future. God never designed a man to be idle, aimless, or reactive. He created you with the strength to carry, to provide not just financially but spiritually, emotionally, mentally. That kind of leadership ignites a woman's respect, because she sees not just a man, she sees a rock, something she can build with, something she can believe in. But when you walk through life without vision, when you waste your time, squander your talents, and drown your potential in comfort or excuses, she sees it too. And slowly, silently, her heart begins to close. Not in anger, but in disappointment. Because what you forfeited wasn't just her admiration, it was the honor of leading something sacred, her trust, her loyalty, her respect. There is a sacredness to a woman's boundaries that demands reverence, not resistance. When she expresses what makes her feel safe, when she reveals the lines she's drawn around her heart, her body, her values, she is not putting up walls to push you away. She is offering you a map to where trust can grow. And how you respond to those boundaries will determine whether she sees you as a protector or a threat. Many men confuse confidence with entitlement. They believe their desires should override her limits. They treat her boundaries as obstacles to get around, not safeguards to be honored. But every time you dismiss, mock, or push past what she's voiced as sacred to her, you chip away at her admiration for you, not because she's fragile, but because you've shown her that your will is louder than your respect. A woman doesn't lose respect in a dramatic moment. Often, it dies quietly. It dies when she says no, and you interpret it as negotiation. It dies when she says, "This hurts me," and you laugh it off. It dies when she opens up vulnerably, and you use her words against her later. These are not just emotional slights, they are violations of the trust she was brave enough to offer. And when a woman senses that her voice is not safe with you, she begins to retreat. She may still smile, she may still stay, but inside, she's withdrawing the respect that once burned like fire for you. Some men try to control rather than connect. They impose instead of listen. They speak over her when she's trying to explain her perspective, acting as if authority gives them the right to ignore empathy. But authority without gentleness is tyranny. And leadership without listening is nothing but pride in disguise. You do not prove strength by dominating her space, you prove it by protecting it. You prove it by being the kind of man who pauses when she speaks, who hears not just her words but the heart behind them, who recognizes that her comfort is not an inconvenience but a responsibility. And yes, sometimes boundaries will frustrate you. They'll slow you down. They'll force you to examine your motives. But that's the point. A man who honors boundaries learns to love with purity, with patience, with purpose. He sees her not as something to consume, but someone to cherish. That is the kind of man a woman respects deeply, not because he's passive, but because his strength is governed by restraint. That's what real masculinity looks like. Not demanding her body, but earning her trust. Not crossing her limits, but choosing to stay within them because her peace matters more than your impulse. When you disrespect her boundaries, you don't just break her rules, you break her view of you. You show her that what matters to her matters little to you. And from that moment on, it becomes harder and harder for her to look at you with the same eyes. Eyes that once admired now begin to question. Eyes that once softened now begin to guard. Because a woman may forgive a lot, but she never forgets the man who made her feel unheard in her own skin. There is something deeply unsettling about a man who changes with the weather. One day, he speaks of faith, honor, and principle. The next day, when pressure comes or desire rises, those very values are nowhere to be found. You see, values aren't real if they only apply when life is easy. Anyone can talk about honesty when there's nothing at risk. Anyone can preach about loyalty when no temptation calls. But when the fire shows up, when standing firm comes at a price, that's when a man reveals who he really is. And when a woman watches the man she trusts crumble in those moments, when she sees him bend his convictions because they're inconvenient, that's when something inside her breaks. It's not always loud, but it's deep, because the man she thought was rooted turned out to be drifting. A woman doesn't need a perfect man, but she does need a consistent one. When your words say one thing and your actions another, she starts to wonder if your whole foundation is built on sand. She listens when you talk about who you are. But even more than that, she watches. She watches how you treat people when no one is looking. She watches how you react when things don't go your way. She watches what you choose when it costs you something. And in those silent observations, her respect either deepens or dissolves. Because if your values are flexible, if your integrity is situational, she knows she cannot fully trust the ground she's standing on with you. Your consistency is her security. She may not say it out loud, but she wants to see a man who stands for something and won't move just because the world pushes back. When you compromise on truth just to fit in, when you abandon responsibility just to escape pressure, when you justify doing wrong because it's easier, that's when the weight of your character becomes light in her eyes. She doesn't want a man who just sounds good when he talks. She wants a man who is good when no one is watching. That's where real respect is born. Not in the performance, but in the private choices you make when it's hard. A woman may admire your dreams, your plans, your charm, even your success. But those things are fragile. What anchors her to you is your code, your compass, your unwillingness to sell out your soul for a shortcut. She respects the man who would rather suffer doing the right thing than succeed doing the wrong. She honors the man whose faith does not fold under fire, whose discipline does not disappear in the face of temptation, whose promises mean something even when they cost him comfort. Because a man who stands for nothing will fall for anything, and no woman can truly respect a man who's willing to trade his values every time convenience knocks at the door. There are moments in life where silence is not strength. It is surrender. Not the noble kind, but the kind that slowly corrodes the bond between two souls. You see, a woman doesn't expect you to have all the answers. She doesn't expect you to be flawless. But she does expect you to tell the truth, especially when the truth costs something. When you choose silence in the moments that demand honesty, you communicate more than words ever could. You communicate fear, avoidance, weakness, and most painfully, you communicate that her need for clarity is less important than your need for comfort. And nothing crushes a woman's respect like watching a man hide from the very truth she's willing to hear. There will come a time in every relationship when something needs to be confronted. Maybe it's a mistake you made, a lie you told, a struggle you've been carrying, or a secret you've buried. In that moment, your response defines you. Some men dodge, deflect, or go quiet hoping the tension will pass. But it doesn't pass, it grows. And with every minute of silence, she loses a piece of the man she thought she knew. Because what she's looking for is not perfection, it's courage. The courage to face what's uncomfortable, to speak what's difficult, and to lead with truth even when it trembles in your voice. Silence in those crucial moments isn't just the absence of sound. It becomes the absence of trust. It tells her she's not worth your vulnerability. It tells her you'd rather protect your ego than protect the connection. And that silence echoes louder than any spoken lie. It echoes in her thoughts, in her questions, in the space between you at night. It's in the way she looks at you differently, in the way she stops asking, stops hoping, stops reaching. Because what she needed was a man who could look her in the eye, own his truth, and fight for her with honesty, not avoidance. The truth has power, even when it hurts. When a man confesses with humility, when he chooses transparency over reputation, something holy happens. She may cry. She may be angry. But deep in her soul, she sees a man who values her heart more than his pride. A man who will not let shame speak louder than love. That kind of man, a man of confession, not concealment, is the kind of man she can respect. Because he doesn't just protect her from the world, he protects her from doubt. Doubt in who he is. Doubt in what he says. Doubt in whether she matters enough to hear the truth. You can rebuild trust. You can regain closeness. But the one thing that's almost impossible to recover is the respect lost when a man remains silent in the face of accountability. Because silence in those moments doesn't come off as strong, it comes off as scared. And a woman cannot respect a man who refuses to be honest when the relationship needs it the most. Gentlemen, the truth is not complicated, but it is costly. A woman's respect is not something you can demand. It is not bought with charm, good looks, money, or momentary kindness. It is earned daily by who you are when pressure mounts, when temptation knocks, when truth is inconvenient, and when leadership feels heavy. It is earned through consistency, integrity, discipline, humility, and the courage to choose what's right over what's easy. You may have wondered why she withdrew, why her eyes don't light up when she sees you, why her voice has grown quieter around you. Maybe she still loves you, but her respect has faded, and now you know why. It wasn't sudden, it was a slow death brought on by inconsistency, avoidance, selfishness, or silence when she needed strength. But here's the hope. Respect can be rebuilt, but not through performance or manipulation. It comes back when a man stops trying to impress and starts living with truth, when he repents where he's fallen short, when he takes responsibility, when he rises not to prove himself to her, but to become the man he was created to be. A man who leads himself before he tries to lead anyone else. A man who speaks truth even when it's uncomfortable. A man who honors her voice, guards her heart, respects her space, and stands on a foundation that doesn't shift with convenience. Kind of man who walks in quiet strength, who doesn't just promise, but proves. Not loud, not proud, but rooted, grounded, noble, a man of God, a man of depth, a man of unwavering conviction. Brothers, if you've lost her respect, don't lose your soul trying to win back her approval with words. Win it back with your walk. Rebuild it with your actions. Restore it with your example. And know this, when you become a man who honors her with your life, not just your lips, you won't need to ask for her respect. She'll give it freely because you'll have finally become worthy of it. That's the kind of man she respects. That's the kind of man the world needs. And that's the kind of man you can choose to become starting today.